How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Coach, last time you all were able to hold BG to 5 points. What was the key to making things difficult for her in the last contest? And what's the approach tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's anything that we did in particular. I think the challenge with BG is just trying to keep her off her spots. She does a great job of getting to her spots. If I remember correctly, she was in a little bit of foul trouble in that ball game, so we've got to continue to try to look to go at her on the offensive end. But more than anything, just try to be as disruptive as possible on the perimeter so they can't get the ball to her as easily and try to keep her from her spots.
Thank you, Coach.
Aari is just such a perfect fit for this team as a hardship player.
Yep.
How involved are you in signing hardship players, and how does that work in the preseason and the season in terms of who you're keeping an eye on to maybe see if you need one, bringing them in?
Yeah, I mean, with me, it's just conversations with Amber and with Kelly. I mean, they're the ones who really have their eye on everything when it comes to player movement and contracts and all of those things, and you're just having conversations about players that fit, what our needs are. I mean, they always have a really good feel for that. We were very fortunate to be able to get Aari, and she's fit in perfectly.
This is now the third time you faced Atlanta. Obviously, you've seen them a ton even in the preseason, but now they have Jordan back. You guys are playing for a Commissioner Cup. Just how different is this matchup, and what are you guys focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, it's different certainly when you have Jordan Canada back on the floor. Her ability to get to the rim, her ability to get other players involved, set the tone on the defensive end of the floor. Certainly have a lot of respect for what she brings to this team and what she brings as a true natural point guard. Getting them into offense, being able to play off of their other perimeter players is important. And in this game, it's going to be a grind out game just like the other ones have been. For us, it's going to be important again to defend the paint. To make sure that we're not allowing any uncontested threes as well. So we've got to be really disciplined in that area and to rebound the basketball.
A lot of matchups in the W are tightly contested, but I have a feeling that when Indiana plays Atlanta, it's very, very tightly contested. What makes the matchup such a good matchup, and why those games come down to the wire so much?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you just got two really competitive teams. Atlanta has been. They've transitioned really well with two bigs on the floor, and of course you have all-star caliber perimeter players, in Ryan and Alicia Gray, and so I think they've got really good balance. For us, I think we have good balance. We've got some different pieces than we did the last couple of times that we played them, but we found our way through that. I think the most important thing, in close games and tight games, and most of them are going to be, your margin for error is small. You got to take care of the ball. You got to put your free throws in. You got to take care of the boards. We've got to be really disciplined and detailed.
By nature, defense is always kind of a work in progress.
Yep.
You do rank third coming into tonight, coming off a great defensive performance. Where do you feel like that's coming together? How do you feel?
Well, Aari helps. Certainly her ability to be disruptive at the point on the ball. I think our attention to detail. We've been very intentional in practice and just trying to be more disruptive and getting back to some of the basics. And really, from an accountability standpoint, on the defensive end of the floor. And it's not perfect, but, we've been able to play through with multiple levels of effort. And, that's going to continue to be a work in progress, continue to be a priority for us. But when you have perimeter players that can set the tone and be disruptive and make things difficult, and you've got size on the interior like we do with AB and with Tosh, I think we've just got to continue to stay locked in on our details.
Kelsey Mitchell was named Eastern Conference Player of the Week today. Have you noticed anything different about her style of play over these last few games, or is she just heating up and being more confident?
Well, I'm proud of Kels. I mean, certainly she's a player that does a great job of getting to the rim. She can get hot quickly, and without Caitlin on the floor, the ball's been in her hands a little bit more in those positions to attack. I feel like her decision making over these last 3 games has been really good. She's been on balance. She's made the right play and the right reads. She's slowed down a little bit in her attacks, and we've also asked her to be a dominant defensive player. So she's been able to do that on both ends of the floor without losing any of her scoring ability.
The fact that you were able to make a definitive statement yesterday about Caitlin's status tonight would indicate that was a fairly clear-cut decision for you. You mentioned yesterday about her being ready to start ramping up. Can you flesh that out a little bit as to where she is in that stage and what that means?
Yeah, I mean, it's never one person decision. It's certainly meeting with the medical staff and understanding where she is. The most important thing for us is to not position ourselves to have any setbacks. And so she's been doing some on the court workouts, and she got into a little bit of practice yesterday. in a controlled environment, and we'll continue to build on that. Getting workouts outside of practice is one thing. Getting back into game flow, rhythm, timing, movement patterns, getting up and down the floor is a completely different thing. So that ramp up stage is more practice time, and fortunately we're able to get it this week.
When she does come back, are you hoping to keep her on like a minute restriction or have her go full speed when she gets back?
I'll defer to whatever the medical staff suggests.
Can you update on DeWanna Bonner, just how she's been transitioning? She was starting at some point, now coming off the bench, just how she's been kind of feeding into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a transition for DB, playing with a different group, and because of our injuries, we've had to move her around a little bit more. I think we found a good groove for her at the 4 position, being in the middle of the floor, finding ways to get her touches that are in natural flow of our offense, allowing her to do some of the things that she really does best, and sometimes that's attacking off the bounce with mismatch situations, being in on-ball screen situations, being able to get some catch and shoot opportunities. We've also added some things in our offensive skill set that we had ran before in Connecticut, and so it's a little bit more without having Caitlin, without having Sophie, we're asking DB to do a lot of different things on the offensive and defensive end, and I think she started to find a little rhythm.
Do you think having her come off the bench also helps with like identifying the pace of the game or just what's going on and gives her opportunity to come in after assessing it for a few minutes?
I don't know about that as much as we needed defender in that starting lineup with Lexi and what she brings, and the way that she can defend on the perimeter, and we need DB's offensive production and her ability to stretch the floor. She's different than Tosh in that 4 position, and so she can give us a different look around AB, and so I felt like just from a rotation standpoint it gave us a different look.
Speaking of your additions with Aari McDonald on the team now, what are some things that you've liked about how she's really just shown her impact on the bench?
Well, 2 things in particular. One, what she does on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, just being able to get into ball handlers and set the tone, and that pressure, defensive pressure, takes a load off of everybody else because she's able to be disruptive early. I think the second thing is just she's a point guard. She's a natural point guard. She has a really good feel, so her ability to come in and distribute the basketball, to even in game 1 when she had just practiced for like a half a day, being able to get us into offense, understand rhythm and flow. If we've had 2, 3, 4 possessions where we needed to slow it down and run an offense, she's got a good feel for that. She gets 2 feet in the paint. She finds her open teammates. She's been the consummate professional, and she was ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.